Shout out to those who told me Tobit was a pet name. Tobit Chukudubin Wigwe is my correct name. Praise God for follies of my colleagues that embody everything I overcame, blowing their gazi to suppress pain. Oh, but I was with fornication, purple haze will keep me warmer than El Pico. Debo, should be what you portray when you placebo. But now my flow the Chico, every bar is worth a kilo. Ooh. Every bar is worth a kilo. Ooh. Every bar is worth a kilo. Ooh.
Hey, Chris, are you going to be a co-host?
Yeah, I can be a co-host so I can let people listen.
Yeah.
Why are you yelling?
Are you in?
Not yet.
Do you have the link?
I have the link. All right, let me in.
It's my correct.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Ashley.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to be getting started in just a minute. I'm so excited about this webinar. It's going to be very, very fun. Hello, hello. We're going to get through a lot of information in a quick period of time, and then we will take some questions. So if you have questions throughout, feel free to drop your questions in the chat so you don't forget them. And we will get through your questions throughout. All righty. Okay. All right, awesome. All right, so while we are waiting for everyone to come on in, and we will get started right at 12:03, just so that we're conscious of time, drop your topic, whether you're a wellness professional or DEI professional, in the chat. And then also let me know what state you're joining from. That's always fun to see who we have with us. We typically have people from all over the country, sometimes the world. And so I'd love to hear that as well. And we'll be getting started in just a few minutes. So drop that in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dallas, Texas, DEI Atlanta, Chicago, excellent. I am also in Chicago. We have Connecticut. And then make sure that you all are on mute. We are recording, and then when we have Q&A, if you can't drop your question in the chat, we can bring some folks off mute at that time. But be sure that you are on mute. And if you do not want your picture recorded, you can also turn off your camera. And then when we do Q&A, we can go from there. We have Michigan. Yes, can everyone please mute? Awesome. Chicago, Houston, Texas. And Chris Kirkwood works with me. We are married, so that's my awesome husband. So you'll probably see him in the chat throughout. He'll also help keep track of questions and things like that. All right, we're at 12:03. We are gonna get started. So before we go any further, I want to make sure that all of you can hear me, see me okay, and you can see the slides. If that is true, just drop yes. Just drop yes in the chat. Awesome. Okay, great. Great. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. That is awesome. Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna jump right in. My name is Ashley Kirkwood. I'm gonna be presenting today on how to land contracts, large contracts, as a therapist and DEI expert specifically. So that's a little bit about what we're talking about. So if you're here to learn something else, juggling, some other type of maybe athletic skill, that is not what we're talking about today, okay? So specifically, we're gonna go through the PAID methodology, which is something that I teach in my programs, and we'll talk about what you need to be doing now, and we're gonna bust some myths as well. Now, currently, if you're currently landing corporate contracts, just put current in the chat. Just put current in the chat to signal that you are currently landing corporate contracts in your business, and you're basically just here to grow. So let's talk, that'll help me to know kind of like who's in the audience. And if you're not currently landing contracts, but you want to, just put future. So if you're currently doing it, you're here to grow, looking at sales strategies, put current. And if you're looking to do this in the future, put future. Okay, excellent. I'm seeing some current, some future. We have a good mix. Seeing some currents come in. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. So you're in the right place if you are looking to sell to corporations or colleges utilizing larger packages versus one-off engagements. When I first started in the speaking and consulting space, a lot of the teaching, a lot of the coaching, a lot of the consulting that was directed towards me, a service provider, was about landing those one-off engagements. But that was not what helped me to scale and grow my business. That was not what was going to help me to be sustainable over time. And so I shifted to offering clients a more holistic solution. That's what we're going to talk about today, those holistic solutions. So if you're an expert, but you aren't currently leveraging your expertise to land those larger corporate contracts, then you're definitely in the right place. And you don't consistently have a sales plan. Now, the sales plan piece of it is something that I want to discuss, because if you're currently landing contracts, that's amazing. Sometimes the clients that we work with are landing those contracts from referrals or from content marketing. They're having people come to them, but they don't have a systematic way to scale up, get more clients consistently, or pare back that they can track. So they're getting referrals, but it's not a system in place to help to repeat that process. And typically when there's no process or system, you can't hand off your sales process to another person to have them come in and do it so that you don't have to necessarily be in the sales day to day. So the first step is having that sales process. If you have a sales process in place, just drop process in the chat. If you're still looking for that sales process, you don't really have a consistent system, just put no process in the chat, no process in the chat. So that would be helpful too. So we can see who we're talking to as we get into the paid methodologies. So I'm Ashley. I'm an international speaker and award-winning lawyer. I've negotiated and closed millions of dollars in corporate contracts and licensing deals on behalf of myself and folks that hire me to negotiate their contracts and their licensing deals. So that's a bit of what I do. In addition to owning Speak Your Way to Cash, I own a law firm called Mobile General Counsel. What makes me unique as a speaking coach is that not only am I a speaking coach, but I'm also someone who's an intellectual property attorney. So I understand why it's so important for people to actually have a sales process, leverage their intellectual property, and learn the language to scale up their services. Because what I find is that my clients, you all are already experts. You're already people who know exactly what you want to offer the marketplace, but the language you're using is limiting your income right now in the corporate space. Potentially, that could potentially be a problem, and it's one that I've seen quite a bit. So that's something that I want you all to keep in mind about, is like, you may already have all the pieces, but the language you use to sell your services, if you change that, tweak that, elevate that in a particular way, you could really grow your profits. And I'll give you all some examples of that in just a bit. So today's content is going to be really amazing. If you've never heard about the paid methodology before, you've never heard me break it down, you are in for a treat. But first, let's bust some myths. Myth number one, companies aren't willing to pay DE experts and therapists 5 to 6 figures for speaking services. So this is the first myth. And I want to break this down. So number one, there are companies right now signing 6, multi-6, and 7-figure contracts for service providers. So that is happening out there in the world. Personally, I have worked with DEI experts and therapists that have closed 6+ figure contracts or 50+ figure contracts for speaking services. Now, when I say speaking services, I want to define this because there are some of you that may be thinking, well, Ashley, I'm not a keynote speaker. I do more consulting, or I'm not a performative speaker. I'm not going to get up there and perform, pull things out of my hat, throw things out into the audience. I do workshops really based on my expertise. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So for instance, we had a client close a deal, 4 workshops, a couple of consulting sessions, a little over $100,000. We have another client that licensed out, this was a DEI expert, licensed out 1 training, $30,000+. A therapist, $10,000+ for a single 30-minute virtual keynote. And so those are just some of the examples, and none of those examples that I gave involved celebrities, people with 20,000+ followers on Instagram. Really, it involved people positioning themselves to profit who had a defined expertise, like all of you that are here. And I know all of you have an expertise because I invited you specifically to this webinar and to this workshop because of your expertise. So most of you share fields. We have a lot of therapists here, a lot of DEI experts here. That's diversity, equity, and inclusion, people who do anti-racism work. And the work you do is so critical and so important that you should be paid for that work. Okay, so that's myth number one. Myth number two, you have to work your way up from the bottom of the market versus starting at the top. We had someone come to us who'd never really been paid to speak, or they've been paid less than $30,000 in an entire year for speaking services. So that was like what they'd made in one particular year for speaking services. And that included workshops and some, I don't think keynotes, I think just workshops essentially. And when they shifted their pricing to start at $10,000 for a keynote, they were concerned like, well, I haven't done this before. What if they ask, what were you paid last time or something like that? The way that I teach sales and what you should be saying on the sales call, I've literally never gotten that question. Like I've never had a client that was like, what did you charge your last client? It's highly inappropriate. This is not a job interview. You all are going into these companies as vendors, but you don't have to quote unquote work your way up. The way that your expertise is established is based on the 10, 15, 20 years that you've been in the market. Now, what we teach and what we want to focus on today is packaging what you've already done, what you've already accomplished into a proposal that a corporation can accept. And the way you get to that proposal, sending out that proposal would be having a sales conversation with a decision maker. So we're going to talk about like that process and what that looks like. Okay. All right. So for those of you here, I want to take a quick break. We have one more myth to get through before we dive into the paid method. Is it making sense so far? Do you have questions that are like burning that you want to make sure I get through? Just drop those things in the chat. If it's making sense and you're with me, just drop yes, we're good. Drop something so I know you're here. Okay, awesome. Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. So myth number three, if you land a 5 to 6 figure contract, it'll involve you doing a ton of work and it can't be done virtually. So this is a huge one. A lot of times I do a lot of work around mindset. Before we repackage your services and elevate your pricing, a lot of the work that we do is around the mindset. Like, okay, if I charge more, I have to do more. And that is really something that a lot of us deal with and think, because in corporate America, that's essentially what happens. I don't know if I shared more about my background, but I left a $300,000 corporate legal career to launch my own law firm and speaking consulting firm. So I literally and it was $300K, decent salary, but I worked for that money. Okay. Like they got their money's worth. Okay. I would work 18+ hour days. My husband's on here. He can attest. Like I would work for that money. And the track I was on was partnership track. The more I was promoted, the more I was elevated, the more federal trials I won, all of that stuff, I would make more money, but I worked more for it. And in fact, if I worked over 2,200 hours in a year, they would give me a bonus. So my mindset was like, you get more when you work more. That's not necessarily the case. And I want to give you all some examples of what some 6-figure proposals look like that I've worked on and closed, so that you all can get an idea for how you can implement this in your business. I think that'll be very, very, very helpful. So number one would be a proposal of workshops. A proposal of workshops with companion guides. If you were to do 3 workshops, 3 consulting sessions, and provide a digital companion guide for each of the workshops that you present, or a digital workbook, that could be a $100,000 package. Another is licensing. So you do 1 workshop and you license it out to a company over several years, or you charge a monthly fee to license. We charge between $50,000 and $75,000 to license a single training. And what enhances the price and makes the price more for us is whether or not we customize the presentation for that company such that we can't sell it to another company. If it's exclusive to one company, obviously we have to charge more for that. So that's another example of how you land a 6-figure contract without necessarily doing more, but by leveraging what you've already done. Here's something that I want to point out is as a service provider, the asset that you have to leverage is your intellectual property. That's the thing that's going to get you to where you want to be financially, is leveraging your intellectual property. So if you create an online course and you license it and you charge per employee, or you do a flat fee per month or per year, you're then able to leverage your intellectual property in a way where companies are willing and interested in paying you for it. All right, so what's the truth about the speaking market? We've talked about some myths. I've even already given you some examples of larger corporate packages. And if do any of you currently sell packages such as the ones that I have discussed? Have you already landed a six-figure contract with a corporation? If you've already landed a six-figure contract with a corporation, drop a 6 in the chat. The blue glasses, thank you. If you are working on it, just put working. Just put working so that we can kind of see where we're at, because I'm hoping that some of those examples were helpful for you to start to see how you can actually leverage this. Okay, so what's the truth about the speaking market? What's the truth? Not only is it possible to land 5- or 6-figure corporate speaking contracts, but it's literally possible for you. The difference between the way I see people work towards their goals is this bolded part right here. It's the for you. Like theoretically, I think it's easy for people to understand. Obviously, somebody somewhere is making money doing this. They're getting paid well for doing this. But is it possible for me? Am I the someone who can actually do this? So that's really the differentiator towards the work ethic and the investment that I see people make. So I need you all to go from, is it possible, to is it possible for me? And there's 3 phases of belief that I've seen in individuals that I've worked with, just in life, the 3 phases of belief that I've personally gone through. The first is like, I believe it's possible for somebody, somewhere out in the world. The second is, I'm curious enough about this thing to invest in it, to invest education, well, to invest time and to invest money. That's like the second phase of belief. Like there's something here, I'm going to invest a little bit of time in it. I'm going to invest a little bit of money in it. Now, when I start seeing transformation, it's typically at the third phase of belief, which is, I know it's possible for me. I know it's possible for me. And it's at that point that I see people's growth accelerate, is when they're like, yeah, not only is it possible for other people, it is possible for me. And that is where, if you want to do more in your career, if you want to sell more, if you want to land additional clients, if you want to lead better, grow your team, grow your audience, develop relationships that will result in contracts, you have to be at that third phase. Like, it is possible for me. And the way you get to that third phase is by the second phase, investing time and investing financial resources into learning the information you need to learn in order to cement that belief system. So hopefully that's helpful for you all to understand that as well. So here's what you need in order to land those contracts. Let's talk about this. The paid methodology. This is our proprietary system that we coach through. It's something that, for those of you who don't know, I actually just released pre-orders for my book, Speak Your Way to Cash. It's something we talk about a lot in this particular book. That book is available for pre-order right now, but it's the paid method. This is like the way that I teach speaking in the world, right? So let's talk about what are the 4 corners of a thriving speaking business. And let me explain what I mean by these 4 elements. What I've seen in my life and what I've seen in the lives of the clients that I've worked with through VIP days, coaching, on-demand programs, and all of that, is most people have 1 of 4 of these elements. But the people who have all 4 of these elements have a sustainable speaking business that they can scale up or scale down to make more or less money and more or less impact into the world. So if you don't have a plan for all 4, it's likely that you have good business, but it may not be business that is systematic and repeatable. So like, you get great referrals, that's excellent. However, you don't necessarily know when your next batch of referrals is coming in, but it's been working out. And some people can work like that. But what I will say, and what I've seen in the pandemic, is that you want to have a little bit more control over how you get sales through the door, because literally anything can happen. So to the degree that you can, you want to be diversified in the way you're attracting clients and diversified in your process for getting those clients onboarded to you, because selling has shifted a little bit in this market. Has anyone else experienced that? Like selling process being a lot different post-COVID than pre-COVID? Just in terms of the speed at which people are buying, I'm finding corporate clients are actually buying faster than they were before. People are calling me within 2 weeks of engagements they want me to speak at. Whereas prior to this period that we're in, I was looking at, 3 to 6 month sales process. It's a lot shorter. Decisions are being made quicker. And on the flip side, sometimes people are making longer decisions or committing to things and then backing out. It's a little bit more of an uncertain period. And so I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but please do let me know in the chat. So the 4 corners: press, assembly, invite, and delivery. So part 1 is press, land media features. One of the quickest ways to build credibility is going to be through earned media, meaning you yourself are pitching outlets, or a publicist is doing it on your behalf. I've been on tons of television. I've never used a publicist, but you can, you know what I mean? Like, you can do that. You can pitch yourself for television features, pitch yourself to be a contributing author for a large publication, pitch yourself for opportunities, and pitch yourself for podcasts or radio. Of all of these things, podcasts have been the most lucrative for my business. Being on a large podcast, developing a deep relationship over time with people in their ear has been the most lucrative. That is where we see clients come in through the door. And there was also a study that was done on this that said podcasts are the most lucrative. Like, if you want to get clients and money through the door, getting on a large podcast that's in alignment with what you are actually selling is one of the most lucrative things you can do. So keep that in mind as well. Television is amazing for building your brand. It may not be amazing for things ringing off the hook, but it is a great positioning tool that you can use and put before corporate clients, and they're very excited about the features. So that's how we use television in a leveraged way. Paid media, sponsored posts, paid features, like you have Forbes Council and things like that. Anything that you can leverage can be beneficial. Another part of paid media, I have a segment on this in my Speak Your Way to Cash Academy program, is awards. Typically for large awards, you apply, and sometimes there's an application fee. That's very beneficial as well. And it can be easily leveraged to build your brand. Owned media, customer stories, personal blogs, your webinar, things like that, social posts, and then co-created content. So a lot of you all, it seems like if you're a DEI professional or someone who works in HR, there are a lot of large organizations that already have your ideal clients. You can write an article for their publication, or you can co-write an article. Like, what if a DEI expert co-wrote an article with a director of human resources? That would be great to show both ends of the spectrum. Or what if you had a LinkedIn interview series with actual people, with your clients, with people who could be your clients, to learn about their pain points and to share resources with what innovative companies are doing in the DEI space. All those are owned media pieces that you can leverage, that you can actually take and repackage. All of that is really good. So press is really important, and it brings people to you, but it is a slow road. It's a brand building tactic. Over time, it will produce, but it is a slower road to go, which is why you need it in combination with some other things. So assemble. Packaging your speech and signature offer. And here's how this looks. Your offer has to be assembled to fit the client. Expertise, your client selection is really important. And then you need certain elements to have like a well-assembled offer. Number one, what is the full solution the client wants? During your sales call, hopefully you're co-creating vision with your client, meaning you're figuring out what a perfect world at that organization looks like from your client's perspective. So that when you put together an offer, when you assemble an offer, it is literally you putting together the elements that will get your client to their ideal world view. Okay? Any questions about what I've just said? Because I know we've gone through a lot already. Any questions at all about what I've just said? I know we've gone through a lot already. Okay, so that's an important piece, is like making sure your client's worldview is included in your actual package. And let me go back here. Things that you can include: workshops, consulting, office hours, executive roundtables. There's any number of things, and you can be creative. I'm coming in close when I say that because a lot of people want to sell the same things. They want to see a template. They want to know what they should do so that they do it right. One of the most powerful things you can do as a service provider is think of a way to serve in a way that maybe your industry isn't, right? But that it's needed based on your market research. So you want to not limit yourself to the packages that are already out there or the things that other people are doing. Think creatively about one, how you want to serve, and then two, sell that solution, the one you actually want to provide, the one you're excited about providing, and the one that gets the client closer to the vision you've created with them. So definitely wanted to keep that in mind. And I'm happy to answer questions about what that looks like or, you know, what we do or what I've seen work. So invite, this is a big thing for people. You need a sales process. Okay. Like you, I mean, I guess you could not have one. There's some people that I assume don't, but even the people I know who are based on referrals, who built their businesses over time, who don't worry about feast or famine, they have a referral process. They have a system by which they get referrals, and they do it the same way every single time to ensure that their pipeline is full. So you definitely want to have a sales process, a way that you're inviting new clients to work with you that's systematic. Are you hosting a monthly executive roundtable? Are you hosting a quarterly event? Do you sponsor an HR conference every year and host an event before or after that conference? Do you do virtual chats? Are you talking to your current clients at least once a quarter? Whatever it is, you're going to want to have a systematic way to keep inviting clients to work with you and ideally getting referrals as well. So that's really important. The other thing is, who doesn't love getting an invitation? If you're here because I invited you to this workshop via LinkedIn, put me in the chat. Put me in the chat. If you're here because I invited you to this presentation via LinkedIn, just drop a me in the chat. Okay, excellent. So I'm seeing me's come through. I'm seeing some me's come through. Who doesn't love a good invitation? You know what I'm saying? So the same way that I invited you all to come to this webinar to learn about our foundational process, our proprietary framework, is the same way that I host similar events for audiences that are in corporations that I want to sell to. So it's very similar in terms of the process. You would send a LinkedIn message. You can even look at the LinkedIn message that I sent you, and you may say something like, hey, Sarah, you know, I see that we're both in the human resources field. We're both in the people management field. I come in and help companies do X, Y, and Z. I'm hosting a free event soon. I would love to invite you to it. And then follow up with a link to the free event. No big deal. And what's amazing is so many of you were like, okay, I can come, but also can I bring a friend? And I was like, absolutely, you can bring a friend. And I think that sometimes we forget that it's great to invite someone to something. I'm asking for time, but I'm not asking for money in the invitation period, like that initial let me prove to you I know what I'm talking about phase. And then only if you enjoy what you learn here today, and only if you enjoy what we talk about, will I say, okay, well, if you want to learn more, these are the ways to work with me. That formula, that framework, that process is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. We literally had over 55 people sign up. I think we had like 67 people sign up total, but 55 of them were directly from LinkedIn, directly from me sending that invitation, specifically to people that I wanted to talk to, therapists and DEI experts specifically. So you can keep that same energy with your corporate clients. So D is delivery. Obviously, you got to deliver an amazing speech. I used to say this, I don't say it as much anymore, but like you can kind of get somebody to pay you once, but if people keep coming back and working with you in different ways, that's going to be because you're good at what you do. You've delivered a great service and it was a good fit on both sides. And honestly, those are the only people that I want to work with. I want it to be a good fit on both sides. I sometimes think when we think about the sales conversation, one mindset piece that we have to understand is that when you're selling to someone, you're giving them an opportunity to get a solution that you've identified they need a solution to. However, you don't have to provide that solution. Like I was talking to a friend about this the other day and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not in dire straits. If it's not a good fit on both sides, we should not work together. And in fact, if it's not a good fit for me, I will not be forced to work with someone that I don't want to work with in the future, corporate or individual. It's just not going to happen. My piece is not worth it. And thank God we are not in a position where we have to do that. So that said, you have to make sure that you're delivering a good customer experience for your client, for your corporate clients, but also that you enjoy working with them. You know what I mean? So it's two parts to delivery, delivering a great speech and delivering a great customer service experience, delivering a great service and delivering a great customer service experience. If you don't do that, it's going to be tough to stay in business over the long haul because people talk, and repeat customers should be a solid foundation of new business for you because they refer you, and also repeat business for you if it's a good fit on both sides. So of course it has two parts, your speaking technique and customer service. So any questions about those 4 parts, drop that in the chat if you have any questions at all about those 4 parts. If you've learned at least one thing new, heard at least one thing you haven't heard before, if you're new to me here, then just drop new in the chat so that I can see that. And if you've learned one thing new or gotten an idea that you didn't have previously, drop 1 in the chat. Drop 1 in the chat. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm seeing some ones, I'm seeing some ideas. Excellent. Love to see that. Love to get that feedback. So this is really good. So each strategy on its own is really powerful, but combined, you're literally unstoppable. If you have a way to implement all 4 of the pieces that we've talked about here, then you're going to be unstoppable, like 100%. You're going to be unstoppable. You're going to be able to really run your business in a way that's systematic. And that's why we developed the paid method. And it's also why we, for our book that's coming out in November, it's available for pre-order now, there is one section developed to each part of this methodology because it's that integral. And we couldn't possibly go through everything in an hour. And I do want to be respectful of your time, but I'm glad that you all are getting some ideas already. So these wins are from wellness and DEI experts like you. There's also several more that I've already shared about some licensing deals that we've helped clients close. But some of these things are awesome. Like there are people that we've worked with or that we've seen that we've offered some insight to who've landed large speaking contracts, who before working with us were not pricing and positioning in the way that they are now, and seeing real results. And I want to be really clear about this. Your coach or consultant that you work with does not get you results, they guide you. They guide you. And so I'm really clear about the fact that I work with great people and just help sprinkle a little something on it. You know what I mean? Helping them go to the next level, use different language, position themselves for success and for profit based on work that they've done. But like all of you, we work with really brilliant people, which makes it even easier to help people do well and expand their vision and their business. And then this one, like I love this one because this is from a therapist that I know who's actually coming to Speaker Ready Cash Live. Secured 3 speaking engagements while on vacation, with one being how I was able to take a month-long vacation as a clinician and still have revenue coming in. This person also is someone who landed their largest paid speaking engagement in an airport, and her story is shared in our book. So these things are happening for people just like you all in the same fields as you all, and they've been able to position themselves for profit. So was this valuable? Did you get something out of it? Just drop a yes if so. Drop a yes if so, especially for my new folks who are coming here for the first time. Drop a yes if you got something out of this. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love that. Love seeing the yeses come through. So if you learned something from the last 40 minutes, imagine letting me coach you for 3 days. So like we've rushed through this process, rushed through the possibilities that you have, the things that you can get out of it. So I want you to coach me let me coach you for 3 days at Speak Your Way to Cash Live in November. It's going to be a game-changing event where I'm literally going to work with you for 3 days, coach you for 3 days, and give you specific content on how to build up your 5 or 6 figure package. So we've talked about what you need. Still interested in your coaching, please explain it. Okay, excellent. We've talked a little bit about what you need. The press, the assembly, the well-assembled offer, the invite strategy, you need a sales process, and then delivery. But at the event, we're going to go even deeper into those things and dedicate 3 days to 13 modules specifically. And I'm going to tell you all what those are. So we'll go through who to pitch, what to pitch them, and how to pitch them. And next week, we're actually doing a pre-event prospecting party where I'm going to share my screen and show you all how I use LinkedIn to identify potential corporate clients. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. Excited about what that'll look like. Thank you so much, Potter. I appreciate it. An excellent wellness pro who's crushing it, and how to pitch them. So let's talk about the specifics, because, you know, I've done workshops before and we did not have the agenda finalized, and now we do for the event. So I can tell you exactly what we're going to be doing during the 3 days. Number one, we have a Dreamers Den. That's one of our first sessions, which is where we're going to do a powerful visualization strategy to help you to imagine yourself further than you already are. That's really important. Dreaming is critically important. And so I think, you know, dedicating an entire session to the Dreamers Den is important. Then we go into proposal writing. We have a session that's called Building Out Your Six-Figure Offer, Mastering the Corporate Landscape. We're going to actually go through the different types of businesses. There are small business enterprises, medium business enterprises, and large enterprises. And if you have a good idea of the landscape and where people are spending their money, you'll have a better idea of where you should be playing. Building your framework and positioning your solution for profit. The thing that separates you from being like a leadership speaker and a highly paid leadership speaker, from my vantage point, like one that can license out their programs, is having a proprietary framework. All that means is a formula, like A plus B plus C equals, you know, what ABC, you know what I'm saying? So like for us, we teach the currency of confidence. It's trademarked. It is what we go into colleges and corporations and teach. We have an MBA framework, which talks about building up your mindset, your beliefs, and your actions. So developing that framework, teaching you all how we developed our framework, and positioning you to develop your own is a really important part of the process. And then pricing pathology. How many of you have ever struggled with pricing? Just drop yes in the chat. Just drop yes in the chat. And one thing that I will say about struggling with pricing or not really knowing how to price is it can be very difficult when you have a mixed business. So you serve corporations, you also serve individuals. There's a way that you should price yourself so that the one side of your business does not dilute the other. But diversity in your business is good. Serving consumers and corporations is great. Like, that's an amazing way to have a business. It helps make you a little bit more recession proof, but the pricing needs to be consistent enough so that what you do on one side does not dilute what you're doing on the other. So the pricing pathology workshop will talk about the causes and effects of pricing and dissect your pricing strategy. Then we're going to go into developing a hot list of potential clients. Now, one thing we're doing this year at the event that we have not done previously is we are having, after every other session, there will be breakouts, time for you to communicate with other speakers. So of all the speakers that attend the event, we are going to break you into sessions, small groups. And in those small groups, you're going to be able to do the activities that we have in the workbook. So in addition to my book, you will get a workbook that coincides with the 13 sessions that we're going to go over at the event. And you'll have breakout time to actually do some of the exercises so that you start to implement and think through the material that you're learning during the actual event live. So that's going to be a very important piece of the process as well. And then assembling your six-figure package. Literally, I want you to commit to writing down what you want to have in your six-figure package, possibly based on the things that you already provide to clients and repositioning it for profit. Pitching to corporations with ease. A critical piece of selling a large proposal is going to be your initial sales call. No way around it. I mean, maybe there's someone on here who has closed a 6+ figure client with no sales calls. But I can tell you now, I'm working on a large licensing deal for a client. We've had 3 calls. And a part of the reason why there's been a lot of calls for this particular deal is there's going to be residual income into, it could be into like several lifetimes, depending on how big the deal goes. And so there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. There's a lot of conversations. If you don't know what to say on those calls, it's going to be tough to elevate the price of your packages and your experiences. So then we're going to have a possibilities panel. You'll hear from other speakers who've done really well, who've changed their mindsets, some who've closed large contracts, some who haven't, but some who've also been able to shift their mindset so that they will do it in the future. Then we have the language lab. I think I'm most excited, I believe, about this session. I have so many sessions that I'm excited about, so it's hard to say, but I think I'm most excited about this session. Being a lawyer, one thing that I understand I'm keenly aware of is the importance of language and how one word can change a conversation. So for instance, if I were to say, okay, guys, you all can get the replay to this, like it's no problem. I'll just come in and speak $5,000, no big deal. That's one thing. But if I'm having a call with a client and I'm like, yeah, I would love to come in and do the initial presentation. It seems like that's what you're interested in booking me for, right? Yes. But then I'm interested are you interested in potentially licensing out the replay so that your audience, your employees in other countries will be able to view it? Oh yeah, that would be great. Okay, great. Do you want me to send you over some information about our licensing packages? Yes, I do. Well, would you be interested in a 30-day license of the presentation or a 60-day? I think 60-day would be good to start. Okay, great. Well, I'll send over 30 and 60-day licensing packages to your email so that you can see pricing on that. Like, that is a different level of conversation, and the client already expects to pay more for it, and you don't make it a big deal. You just reposition something that you otherwise may have called the replay in the past, because it's not a replay. It's your intellectual property. So you have to learn the language to protect it and to put it on a pedestal for your clients. Sometimes people don't pay because they're like, you're not showing the value in what you offer. You know what I mean? Like, and I love that you said this comment, Ramisha, is the language and the boldness and confidence this takes. Like, I'm so glad you said that. One thing I will say is I believe confidence can sometimes be a synonym for information. Okay. And the better information you have, the more actionable information you have, the better decisions you can make in your business. So if it scares you just a little bit, if you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, I want you to understand it's not because you're not competent. It's not because you're not capable. It's one of two reasons. One, you don't have the information yet, or two, you have a little bit of information, but you haven't implemented it consistently and over time. The more you implement something, the better your confidence grows. And I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. If I were to ask any of you your name, what would you say? You would just give me your name. I'm like, oh, my name is Ashley. Well, why? Because I have a 1-year-old daughter. One of the first things that she learned is how to say her name. So whenever we ask her name every day, we're like, what's your name? She's like, Christelle, that's me. You know what I mean? She gets so confident in it. And when other people, now initially, when we would ask her name, she'd be like, Christelle, but when other people would ask, she wouldn't say it. She was more confident saying it to us because she'd practiced more saying it to us. But the more her confidence grew saying it to us, now when other people ask, she does the exact same thing. It seems like a basic example, but it's the exact same way in your business. The more you practice acting on the good information you have, the more confidence you will have doing that thing. The only way your confidence is going to grow, getting the information, acting on it wrong, acting on it when you don't feel you're doing it right, but acting on it nonetheless. Because once you act, you realize, man, I just told them it's going to be $50,000 for a licensing deal. They didn't buy, but what they did do, is they didn't blast me on the internet. They didn't say anything bad about my mama. They didn't, throw me out. It was totally okay. And so what I want us to do, all of us on this call, everyone who listens to this even afterwards, is start acting on the good information you have so that it grows your confidence. Because if you're still a little uneasy about it, it's because you haven't done it enough. You just got to start. You got to start taking baby steps towards it. And similar to the example with my daughter, maybe what you do first is do sales calls with your spouse, sales calls with your friends, sales calls with people who, there's no risk to it, but you practice saying it. Then you elevate to doing sales calls with other people so that your confidence can grow. Okay. So that's something that I just wanted to put out there because I know it feels a little intimidating at first, but literally it's not competence. All of you are brilliant. Literally, I only work with really smart people. I only work with really smart people. So I know all of you are brilliant. And then we're also going to do a session on delivering an impeccable speech through storytelling, which I'm very excited about. What is your brand story? It's the stories that get people excited. Like I told that story about my daughter, and any of you with kids probably started thinking about your kids. You know what I'm saying? It builds commonality. It helps people to see the human element of you, and it helps to illustrate the examples that you teach. So it's important that all of us have a brand story that we can pull when we're selling to corporate clients. So the total value, like this event is really invaluable, not just because of the content, but because you're going to be in a room of like close to 100 other speakers that are all going towards the same goal. And throughout each day, we have dedicated time for you to mastermind and talk with them and implement with them. So it's really invaluable, but it's well worth over $20,000 for sure. And then you get some extra perks. So we have these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful welcome boxes that all of you will get in the mail before the event, which will include my book. It'll also include, we have like so much stuff in these boxes. So it'll include my book and a few other goodies that you all will get in the mail. You'll also get the workbook, which you keep for life. So those sales scripts in there, the templates that are in there, you keep all that stuff for life. Literally, I did an interview with a guy who attended last year's event. He had his box, the box that we sent him, on the bookshelf while we were doing the interview. He was like, I don't even keep stuff from events, but this I keep. So you'll want to keep that box for life, and you'll get hundreds of dollars from our sponsors, which is Uncloned Marketing, Mobile General Counsel. My law firm is a sponsor, Smith AI, which is a call service they're sponsoring, and then Dubsado, a proposal tech company, is also sponsoring. And all of our sponsors were personally invited by me, and I use them to make money in my business. So they're really good, especially like if you haven't heard of Uncloned Marketing and Audrea Richmond, that's her company, check them out for sure. Her book was in the box last year. Very, very good. So I definitely want you to attend the event. You can go to speakyourwaytocash.com/event. Chris will also drop the link to the event in the chat. I believe we only have 16 days left for this event, for ticket sales to this event. I'm going to check. I think it's 16 days. Yeah, we just posted it. 16 days left to get your ticket to the event. You want to get your ticket to this event as soon as possible. Next week is the pre-event prospecting party that we talked about. So it's really like time is of the essence. You know what I mean? If you were trying to attend that live, and we have added some things to the event. Now, we also have, if you follow me on Instagram or on LinkedIn, I posted the venue. We have virtual tickets and we have in-person VIP tickets. For the VIP folks, you will get continental breakfast each day of the conference. And 2 bonus like VIP sessions. So like we have 3 breakfast sessions that you'll get as well. And then we're going to have a night session that's a bonus as well. Preferred selection for hot seats. So one thing we do after each session or most sessions is we bring someone from the event up and we go through the actual like pricing pathology. I would call one of you guys up and then we go through your pricing. Like, all right, how do you plan to position your pricing? What fears do you have around it? And I get out, I don't know if I'll have a whiteboard there or a flip chart, something to write on to actually help you work through it live. That has caused so many breakthroughs at these events. So you definitely want to make sure that you're there for that. So VIP is like in person. We only have 10 VIP seats left. We rented 3,000 square feet. Everyone will have their own 6-foot table, have to submit COVID testing. We will have masks, like all of that will be happening. To have COVID protocols. And then most people will be virtual instead of in person. So this is the price point for the actual event. It's $1,200 or $2,500 if you want to do the in-person VIP with those 3 bonus breakfast Q&A sessions and the night session and just like all the fun of being in person. And then for virtual, it's $1,200. And now I've been asked this before, but people who attend virtually will get a workbook. They will get a box into their home. They will get all of that. It's all about how you learn in your learning style. We also have volunteers that are flying in to be dedicated to our virtual folks. You'll have like a point person that weekend. So if you have additional questions that weren't answered, or you wanted to make sure that you were, getting some information you didn't otherwise have, you'll have like a client success coach that weekend that'll be ready to go to help you specifically. So we're going to make sure that you're taken care of either way. It's just a matter of how you like to learn and what you like to do. So that's the investment to attend and get coached for 3 days. And you can, of course, do secure checkout with PayPal credit if you wanted to put it on credit, or we have a financing option now, which is a little bit different. So if you are someone who's like, I want to attend the event now and pay for it later, then we do have a financing partner over and above PayPal credit that we can have you apply for. And, you work it out that way. So if you want financing options, just please send me a message so that I can get those to you. Otherwise, you can go on this webpage and secure your ticket while we still have some seats left. We only have a few VIP seats left, I believe 10. And then we only have a few virtual seats as well. So make sure you go grab your ticket. If this was good to you, if you're like, my interest is piqued, then please, please, please do join me in November. It's 3 days, but it's really life-changing. It's really life-changing, especially if you are someone who's like, I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm ready to challenge myself, and I want to be in a room with other people who are as well. So give me 3 days. It'll change your life. Good information is the number one thing that's literally changed my life. Having good information and then subsequently taking action on it has been the thing that's really been able to change my life. Now, if you're new to me and you're like, I want more, I want to learn more before I make my decision about if I'm going to like fly to Chicago and let you coach me for 3 days, feel free to check out our free resources like the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. I have so much content available online. But if you're like, I have a business, my business is successful, or it needs to be more successful, and I just want to level up, then get your ticket to the event. Best thing you could do, for sure. All right, I will send you those details. Did anyone else have any other questions at all about the event, about their business, about whether it'll work for them? What questions can I answer for you all before we close out? All righty.
I have a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All of the list of, I guess, segments that you had before, that's all included in the conference, because those prices didn't match up. So I was confused.
Yes. I'm sorry. You said what we are including in the conference are the sessions. Yes, the sessions that I talked about, that's what we're including. So what I showed you was the value of those sessions, and then the price that we're charging for it to make it accessible are the prices that are listed on the website. Because for me, I mean, a VIP day with me is $25,000. So if you're spending 3 days with me at this conference ticket price, it's really a steal. So those are definitely the sessions that we'll have. You'll get access to those either virtually or in person. And then in person, we have a few additional bonus sessions as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melissa.
Hi, Ashley. This is Katharina, also from Chicago. I'm the owner and founder of the Black Mental Health Guide. So my specialty is mental health as well as diversity and inclusion and workplace trauma. One of my questions that I wanted to ask to the upcoming Speak Your Way to Cash 3-day experience is, when you're breaking down these modules, will we have an opportunity, and I think you said this, but I may have missed it, but will we have an opportunity to actually use an applied method in these settings as we're gaining and learning those tools?
That is a really good question. And yeah, so I actually have the workbook here. One of the things that you'll be able to do is like, so for your packages, for instance, we have a breakout session where you'll be able to figure out of the packages that we've selected, which ones do you want to apply to your business? So you'll write those down in the workbook just so that when you go back to your room, you're able to, or wherever you're at, I mean, depending on how you're attending, you're able to then take those packages and utilize them. So there are various points throughout the event where you'll be able to actually think through, like, what do I want to make? What do I want to include in my packages, and write those things down. And then the sales scripts you'll actually have with you. So you won't be able to do a sales call per se, but you will be able to engage in like a role play and how to sell those packages. And that'll be done in a breakout session with you and some other attendees. So the goal is to get you applying the information a little bit more than in years past, where it's been more information and less breakout sessions for you to actually start applying the information. So that's a big change we made this year. So yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you answering that question for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Dominique says, I went to the first Speak Your Way to Cash. This opportunity is epic, informative, and changed my speaking journey thus far. I'm ready to level up. Yes, thank you, Dr. Dominique. Exciting. What is your advice to upcoming business owners? My advice would be to position you don't have to position yourself as a new business owner. And just because you're a small business doesn't mean you have to do small business. So really think through from the outset what you want your life to look like and how you want your life to feel, and build a business around that, keeping in mind the solutions you have to provide to your client. But You don't have to subscribe to the conventional wisdom of like, you got to start from the bottom and it's going to take forever to make money in business. And like all these negative narratives that I hear about business, I don't necessarily believe you have to subscribe to them. So just get good information, act upon that, and develop yourself personally and with your confidence that you can go to the top. All righty. I think those are all the questions. And yes, it is virtual and in person. So if you want to, stay home and do that, then absolutely you have the option to do that as well. Okay, so we're right at 12:54. I don't see any questions, I don't think. Do we miss any questions, Chris? Nope, I don't.
Could you talk a little bit about the so someone asked, would there be options for hot seats virtually?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yes, there will be options for hot seats virtually. What we'll do is we will bring you on to the stage, quote unquote. So we're going to make sure that there's the volunteers that are assigned to folks who are attending virtually are going to let me know if we have a virtual volunteer so that it's weighted. So we have some people doing hot seats that are virtual as well. So we've thought about that, and our tech team has assured me that we'll be able to do some hot seats live and interact with people who are attending virtually. And we did all the hot seats virtual last year. So I'm sure we'll be able to make that happen again this year as well. But that is something that we're considering as we develop out this event. So yes, there will be hot seats virtually. Were there any other questions? Anything else I missed? And Chris said, if you're interested in the financing option, you all can email him directly. He has a call link for that, and then we can send you the short application. It takes like a minute to do. All righty. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm hoping you got something valuable out of it. Check out the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast so that you can learn more about what we do, how we do it, who we've helped, how we help them. And you'll hear interviews with, we have over 111 interviews with other speakers who've also made 7, 8+ figures in their speaking businesses and sustained it over time. All right. So have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Yes, you are welcome, Darlene.
Thank you, Ashley, so much. This was so good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for not giving up on me.
Absolutely, not at all.